Hey there, wonderful souls. Saturn goes retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and when Saturn goes retrograde, he is actually pausing. He's turning, he's looking over his shoulder. And when Saturn looks back, it's not to reminisce, it's to fix what was unstable. Saturn is right in the middle of this transit in this nakshatra. Or should I say, he is just beginning his onward journey in the sign of Pisces, and he's looking back over his shoulder in the same house, and also he's going to have his gaze on the previous house that he just left. And he does not just revisit, he exposes the unfinished karma of the previous house, often revealing where you took a shortcut, ignored a duty, or left something unresolved. From the stormy waters of Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, Saturn casts his gaze across multiple domains of your chart and asks, are you finally ready to grow the dream that you wanted to achieve in the right way? Welcome back to Vedic Astro. Today we'll look at all 12 signs and what Saturn's retrograde means for us. Let's begin with Aries. So for Aries, Saturn is your 10th and 11th Lord going retrograde in the 12th house. So first he's looking back at your 12th house of dreams, isolation, loss, and expenses. So when Saturn looks back, it's because something odd is happening in the 12th house. Maybe you're having a weird sleep routine. Maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe you're oversleeping. All of this could have a negative impact on your health. And when Saturn looks back, he is also, through his Vakra Drishti, he's also looking back at the 6th house. So he's now reworking his way back to good health and getting back on track at work. So the transit is going to be helpful for you because you're now putting yourself to work on your sleep, your work, and daily routines, your health, all of this. 12th house is also connected to losses, and Saturn going retrograde means there's some loss that has happened to you, and Saturn now does not want that to be repeated. Saturn's third aspect on the second house is giving you some breaks in saving money, but aspecting the sixth house gives you a way to clear your debt or loan that you have borrowed, or at least it is slowing it down. So 12th house is also a major travel house alongside the ninth house. So if you are someone who has been looking for an opportunity to work abroad, this retrograde will give you a chance to find work abroad or even gain foreign connections and make some money, because from the 12th, Saturn is looking back at the 11th house of connections. Also through its 10th aspect, Saturn is aspecting the ninth house of long distance travel. And remember, Saturn is a karaka for career, and when Saturn goes to the 12th house, he is in a bucket of losses. So Saturn, there is a possibility that for some of you people, Saturn could have given you a loss at work. Maybe you're looking for a different role, maybe you're looking for a different job, and some of you Aries are definitely going to do that. But since it is retrograde, because it is in the Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, Saturn is not here to punish you. He's here to help you move on to a different location, maybe to a different job. And sometimes Saturn in this position can take away your existing friend circle and show you who is really meant to be in your life, and then help you to forge new connections, because retrograde kind of does these things, especially if for you Saturn is coming back to its natal position in the 12th house. And I'm talking about Saturn return. That is when your desire to go abroad and work really starts ringing in your mind. Subconsciously also, you would wish that you were elsewhere. Sometimes Saturn here can give you fears connected to friendships and having to work on your life-size dreams. You might feel if it's even worth the pain, but Saturn being who he is, he loves to toil, he loves to work really hard, keep grinding for that dream to come true. So your career goals, your dreams of having an income, all of this is being put to the test. And Saturn says, you've been wanting this for like a long time, so let's start working towards it. And since it's going retrograde, Saturn is looking back at some of the bottlenecks, or should I say challenges, that's coming your way pertaining to expansion and realization of your 11th house matters, your dreams, uh, your friendship, your network circle, your income. In fact, when Saturn is retrograde, it means it's looking back at an activity that has left you worried or shaken, and that may have already happened. So he's just there to ensure that you're pulling the brakes, thinking it through, and then readjusting. Here in the Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, Saturn is the force that stabilizes work alongside your family identity, because it is also aspecting the second house. Too much work towards forging your own identity could take you away from family, and now it wants to strike a balance. Too fast and you could crash, too slow and you might not even realize your dreams. So Saturn is asking you to do things methodically, to plan for the future before you accept the challenge or the deal, because otherwise you're bound to burn out your enthusiasm faster than a matchstick. And Saturn, in addition to going slow, will also show you the restriction of your circle of friends, and that might result in you planning to expand. But along with it, you want to take care of the problems of resizing or scaling upwards, and how to stay connected with family even when all of this is happening. That's the challenge for Aries. Big focus coming your way with regards to career and daily routines. One of the reasons is Saturn, and the other would be Jupiter, which is making its way to your fourth house. Come October or November, Jupiter is going to move to your fourth house. This movement is already happening. So let me tell you that this is a fantastic position for gaining stability in all areas connected with Saturn's placement and its aspect. Look for it for the next 5 months. Areas of concern would be Saturn's 10th aspect on the ninth house, which will make you to turn towards your father's well-being, and that is another direction where some of your energy is going to be spent in stabilizing. You could feel extremely responsible for your father's health. For students, it's the same theme of working hard towards your goals versus higher education. Some of you may now feel the hunger for higher education, which means some of you are going to put in long years at a university, a college, or an academy. So all I could say is think and plan accordingly for the next 2 or 3 years. So ultimately, what is Saturn doing here? Is he positive? Absolutely. Why? Because Saturn is helping you to realign based on your subconscious mind, your desires, because Saturn is in the 12th house and retrograde, and he is your 11th lord as well. So he wants alignment of your mind at the surface vis-a-vis the subconscious. He wants a clear connection between your waking mind and the subconscious mind, like a one-way traffic without restraint. This Saturn is very, very powerful in making you have a strong drive to kind of achieve things which you always wanted. And if you're going through a very good dasha bhukti, especially dasha bhukti of the 12th lord, or planet moving into your 12th house, then this is going to be excellent for you to move abroad. And remember the Samudra Manthan story, where Lord Vishnu takes the avatar of the turtle to stabilize the Mount Mandara to continue with the churning. That is exactly the kind of representation of Uttarabhadrapada. Saturn is about giving you a strong drive which comes from the inner sanctum of your being. He wants you to dig deeper, because ocean is where there is depth, right? This is one place where you can go really deep. It doesn't happen with any other sign, not as much as it would happen in Pisces. So whether it's self-inquiry or any kind of philosophical question that you have, or even the ordinary dreams of being successful or achieving your desires, all of this is really going to materialize if you can align your mind with what you want to achieve. Saturn is reality, and in 12th it is about bringing the subconscious desires to reality and then sustaining that drive to attain what your soul deeply desires. In retrograde position, it is just readjusting, of course, it's just readjusting its mechanism to keep the wheels in motion despite some turbulence that's headed your way. If you're an Aries moon and going through Sati Sati, don't worry. Just say your prayers to Shanidev and keep doing your work diligently without complaining, and he will have your back no matter how bad that turbulence is. You will come out of that storm a lot stronger than you had imagined. It's going to be very life changing for many Aries people when this transit happens. And that's pretty much all I've got for Aries folks. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below, give it a thumbs up. If you need a consultation, do drop an email. Share this with your friends and family, and do check out my other videos on exploring astrology. I've been playing with some really niche themes there. Next up, we have Taurus ascendants or Taurus moon sign. So Saturn, for Taurus people, Saturn is your ninth lord as well as your 10th lord, and he's now retrograding in the 11th house, the house of your dreams, elder siblings, large networks, long-term desires, and karmic rewards. But this is not just a backward spin that he's taking. Saturn in Uttarabhadrapada is like an ancient priest who's like pulling out the scrolls you forgot you wrote. This nakshatra is ruled by Ahirbudnya, the serpent of the deep, meaning Saturn here does not just touch your life on the surface. It dives into the ocean of your unfulfilled desires and tests whether they are worthy of being made real. The 11th house is where you want to plant the flag on the mountain and say, this is what I really want in life. But when Saturn, the ninth lord of Dharma, is retrograding in the 11th house, your desires are undergoing a purification process. This is not about what the world told you to want. This is about what your soul actually came here for. That's why some dreams are going to fade, some friendships will end, but divine alignments are going to begin for Taurus people. Saturn as ninth lord in the 11th brings satsang, not just friends, but spiritual allies. You'll start to recognize who uplifts your path, who mirrors your higher self, and who simply does not belong anymore. Saturn is now casting his Vakra Drishti, his backward glance at your 10th house of career, status, and karma, which he also rules. Something in your career domain needs fixing, realigning, or even closing. You might be required to travel for work, revisit an old project, or take on a responsibility you thought was over. That could happen for Taurus people. You may have missed some part of the work and you might have just wrapped it up, and now you've got to go back and finish that up. You might have just wrapped it up in a hurry. So that calls for reopening that project. This retrograde may bring you back to a role, or it may even bring you back to a workplace, or even give you an opportunity that you once kind of passed over to somebody else. But remember, this is not just about repetition. It's kind of repairing what happened. It's kind of repairing what happened at your workplace, or what you missed at your workplace. Can you finish what you started? But this time with wisdom. That is what Saturn is now asking. Retrograde in the 11th, but looking back at the 10th, Saturn says, you've grown, but are your career goals still aligned with who you are becoming? Saturn's 7th aspect falls on your 5th house of creativity, children, romance, and emotional joy. And since Saturn is the 10th lord, it kind of brings the work to these 5th house matters. If you're trying to conceive, this may be the time to consciously prepare for a child who arrives with deep karmic significance. This could be the beginning of something very beautiful. You could be seeing a divine child getting birth. If you already have children, then their growth, their health, their education may demand more of your involvement. Saturn wants you to sustain their momentum, not just to react to their needs. Creatively, this may feel like a slowdown, but it's actually Saturn saying turn your passion into a process, create like you mean it, and build something that lasts. With Saturn now looking straight at your first house, your own self comes into question. How are you presenting yourself to the world? Are you living authentically or simply playing a role? This is a time when you might feel more serious because Saturn is a very mature person. So he brings you that seriousness in life. He brings you a feeling of being responsible for the actions that you take. Saturn could also give you a lot of burdens that force you to mature very quickly or become more inwardly aware of your limitations and your power. So Saturn says, grow into the version of yourself who can actually carry the life that you want. This is a time to stabilize your self-image, especially how you show up in public. If you've been wearing a mask just to belong, Saturn is gently kind of ripping it off. Gently because he is your yoga karaka. And yes, it might be uncomfortable, but it is the beginning of real authenticity. Meanwhile, Jupiter is transiting your second house of speech, wealth, and values, casting a direct aspect onto your eighth house. This is one of the best placements to monetize your voice or knowledge, develop a healthier relationship with money and food, or even reconcile family karma by learning to speak less but with truth. So this Jupiter placement is silently blessing the eighth house as well, where Saturn has his 10th drishti. Okay, and the eighth house is usually feared, but for you, Saturn is not here to frighten. He's here to make you accountable. And because Saturn is also the ninth lord, his aspect on the eighth makes you deeply responsible for your spouse's finances and emotional security, shared investments, debts, and most powerfully, your relationship with your in-laws as well, because eighth represents your in-laws. But here's the grace: Jupiter is aspecting the eighth house from the second house. And that means healing, resolution, and even hidden gains which are possible now. So if you've had tensions around inheritance, then or emotional intimacy or trust, this is a time to show up maturely, and you might just be rewarded with peace and prosperity by Jupiter. This is the essence of the transit. In Uttarabhadrapada, Saturn behaves like Lord Vishnu's Kurma avatar, the turtle that stabilizes the churning ocean. And what's your ocean? It's your dreams and responsibilities and connections, because Saturn is in the 11th house. And Saturn's job is to stabilize that churn, to make sure that whatever rises to the surface is meant to stay. Too fast and you'll crash, too slow and you'll stall. Saturn is the timing master. He is the real wielder of karma and time. He's teaching you how to sustain the pace that helps you arrive without collapsing. And it's a correction phase for many people, many Taurus people. You're not losing anything. You're being invited to build something real. If you're in Sati, Saturn Mahadasha, or 11th house, Saturn return, this transit may feel really intense, but it's clearing the way for long-term rewards that actually align with who you're becoming, just like the turtle in Samudra Manthan. Hold steady, even if the waves are wild, your roots are growing deeper than ever before. If this helped you, don't forget to subscribe, share this with the Taurus moon. And if you would like a personal consultation, drop me an email. I would love to help you chart your way forward. So for Geminis, Saturn is your 8th lord and 9th lord, and he's now retrograding in your 10th house, the house of karma, public life, work, responsibility, reputation, and also the legacy that you leave behind. And this is not an ordinary rewind. This is Uttarabhadrapada, the deep sea anchor. Saturn here is the turtle in the churning ocean, and your career is the ocean being churned. Your public life is under Saturn's gaze, not just because it's transiting your 10th, but because it's retrograding here. And remember, Saturn represents the mosses, and when he's looking back at the 10th house itself, firstly, it means that your work is under public scrutiny. All eyes are on you. You better watch out how you perform at work. If you're coming late to office, it's going to get noticed. If you're leaving early, it's going to get noticed. And something from your professional past, maybe a choice, a missed opportunity, a power struggle, is now coming back up for correction. You may feel blocked at work, get reassigned to an old project, probably something that you didn't want, but you could end up getting it anyway. You could also be called to take on leadership where someone else dropped the ball. You're now cleaning up somebody else's mess. And that really feels like, oh my God, that does not feel good. Trust me, there are some people at work, it's all the better that they don't do that work. And because when they do it, then that means that somebody else is going to have to clean it up. And that is really what Saturn here represents. So Saturn here says, if this is your dharma, then it doesn't matter. You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to prove it with consistency. If it's not, then stop pretending. And remember, Saturn is your 9th lord too. So this is not just about career. It's about alignment with purpose. You are being held accountable for what you choose to do with your gifts, with your blessings, with your innate skills. And as Saturn retrogrades in your 10th house of karma, he looks back at your 9th house, the house of faith, dharma, father, and long distance destiny. Long distance travel. So this is Saturn asking, what beliefs built your ambition? Is your success rooted in truth or borrowed dogma? So when this transit happens, especially when the retrograde happens, some of you are gonna definitely doubt about your path, education, or spiritual grounding. You could feel that. You could also feel the urge to reconnect with your father's influence or heal that relationship with your father. Some of you could also notice travel plans getting delayed, only to be replaced by inner journeys. The 9th is the staircase to your dharma. Saturn looks back to check that foundation. If there's a crack in your worldview, he'll press pause and he's going to say, let's wait it out before you progress. Not to block you, but to change course. Don't rush to expand. First clean up the wisdom you're building on. Saturn's 3rd aspect falls on your 12th house, the space of rest, sleep, isolation, loss, dreams as well. So Saturn may have helped you give a break to travel or bring in some kind of control, but maybe not with regards to sleep or finding some me time for yourself. That means your burnout is being tracked. Maybe your sleep is irregular, your subconscious is cluttered, or you've been avoiding spiritual discipline. Saturn is now forcing you to fix that. Saturn is telling you, what use is worldly success if your soul is sleep deprived? This retrograde pushes you to reframe how you balance retreat and responsibility. If you're working 10 hours but dreaming 0, something has to change. But remember, 3rd aspect is never really easy, never an easy one to crack. But it can be hugely transformative Saturn, because is now giving you a chance to spend more time with yourself, and most importantly, giving a break to your expenses. Saturn also aspects your fourth house through his seventh aspect, the house of inner peace, mother, emotional security, and also your physical home. So this is big. Why? Because you may begin to feel detached at home, or like your personal space no longer supports your growth. Some Geminis may move homes, take on household responsibilities, feel heavy guilt around not spending enough time with family. You could also realize, because it is going retrograde, you could also realize that your internal stability has been leaking because your external world, represented by the 10th house, is too chaotic. This is the point where Saturn asks, you're working hard for your legacy, but is your foundation, which is your fourth house, stable enough to hold it? Questions and questions, but very few answers. So I can't give you the right answer because this is a general prediction for all Geminis. Things change based on Dasha and Bhukti, and where exactly you are in life right now would actually matter a lot, but then you know your situation better. And hey, all I can say is that Saturn is here to stabilize your public image, but also readjust in a way that will give you time for your domestic needs. Maybe if they need your support, then that's what you need to give. But at the same time, if your work needs more stability, you should definitely concentrate more on work than at home. But like I said, you know this better than I do. You know how to assess your situation better. The seventh house is being activated by seventh house is being activated by Saturn's 10th aspect. And this one is powerful. Saturn is the eighth lord as well, right? So he brings echoes from your past partnerships, both personal and professional. If you're married, you may feel emotionally distant or have to work through some kind of shared financial strain with your spouse or partner. If you're in business, then your old partnership may need some kind of restructuring. That's possible. If you're single, this is not about finding the right one. When Saturn is being the eighth lord looking at the seventh, it's really not about finding the right one, but about becoming someone ready to hold space for another person. And because Jupiter being your 10th lord is looking at the seventh from the sign of Gemini, he's looking at the seventh, and also because Saturn is your 10th house going retrograde, your public image and relationships are gonna collide. Are you showing the world a different face than what your relationships know? Then this retrograde says bring it into synchrony. Meanwhile, Jupiter is now transiting your sign, Gemini. This is huge because while Saturn is pushing you to restructure, Jupiter is expanding you from within. You will begin to speak more wisely, attract attention and opportunities, feel the urge to train people, to teach people, or guide them at work, and reconnect with a sense of optimism that's been missing. And guess what? Jupiter aspects the 5th, 7th, and 9th houses, bringing love, support, and divine guidance to counterbalance Saturn's karmic pressure. Especially the 7th house, which is now receiving both Saturn aspect and Jupiter's aspect. So difficulties and challenges are possible now in relationships, but Saturn retrograde can help you mature. So the moment you begin to empathize with the other person, that is the time when you will start healing and expanding. You're learning what it means to be seen as a whole, both in your public life as well as your private world. And let's not forget, this is Uttarabhadrapada, the nakshatra of deep endings, wise endurance, and sustainable growth. So Saturn here says, if your legacy is not anchored in your truth, it won't survive the storm. This is really the turtle face. You don't need to be the fastest or the loudest. You just need to be the one who can carry the weight of what you're building. Your professional roles are being reassessed or redirected. Pressure to mature quickly is now happening in your partnerships. Health related exhaustion due to poor sleep cycles are now getting corrected. Career home imbalance is now getting exposed. So there's a lot of work that you need to do. You need to rethink your public image and long term goals. Learning to say no with confidence, and also having a way to find some me time for your spiritual quests. So this is a time for restructuring and a lot of recalibration. But if your actions, career path, and relationships don't align with your dharma, they'll begin to crumble, not as punishment, but as a part of you transforming into something better, into something more wiser and mature. So don't fight the breakdown. Use this retrograde to repair, reconfigure, and reconnect. Even if it feels heavy, you're headed in the right direction. So please remember that. Trust the churn, be the turtle. And if you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and if you're feeling the pull for deeper guidance, then you know what to do. You need to email me at the following address, and I will be happy to give you a personalized consultation. Of course, this is going to be a paid one. And now let's move on to Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon sign. So for Cancer folks, Saturn is your 7th and 8th lord. He's now retrograding in your 9th house, the domain of faith, dharma, father. And this is not about blind belief anymore. It's about burning the old blueprint and asking, what do I really believe in? Now that life has humbled me, what do I really believe in? And with Saturn in Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, the oceanic storm bringer, it's not just change, it's depth. Saturn wants to anchor your belief system so it survives both chaos and clarity. The 9th house is not just about travel or temples, it's about the meaning you assign to life and whether that meaning still fits your soul. So your relationship with faith or spirituality may feel tested right now. A long-standing belief may shatter, forcing a spiritual reset. For some of you Cancer folks, you may feel drawn to teachers who once seemed too intense but now speak truth, or you may even start teaching what you have endured. And since Saturn is the 8th lord, this is deep. You're not just changing ideas. Saturn is your 8th lord in the 9th house of beliefs, and that means you're now inheriting some of those beliefs, because 8th is inheritance, but since it's retrograde, you're also going to be purging some of those dogmas and discovering what truth feels like in your bones. 9th represents your ancestors. 8th and 7th lord in the 9th house means inheriting wills and property from your ancestors. Some of you are going to really work on getting that inheritance now. Maybe there's been a block, or maybe there's a contractual fine print that's got you mired into a difficult situation, which requires you to work with a lot of people to sort it out, and that's kind of happening right now. And let's not forget, the 9th house also governs your father, and Saturn going retrograde here may trigger concerns over your father's health or aging. He may be growing old or becoming fragile, and longevity could be a concern now. Saturn could also create situations when you feel where you feel emotionally or materially responsible for your father. There could be karmic tension in your relationship, especially if unresolved issues still linger. So it's time to grow out of that ill feeling when Saturn goes retrograde, and you could actually patch up and get rid of that misunderstanding. That's what retrograde is all about. This is Saturn's way of saying the man who gave you life is part of your karmic equation. Honor the lesson, whether through healing or closure, and in some cases ancestral healing may occur even if your father is no longer physically present with you at the moment, especially during Saturn's dasha, sade sati, or if your natal ninth is active, like in the case of Saturn return, where a relationship with your father can get into a mode of healing and sustenance or closure. And since the ninth also rules travel, pilgrimage, and higher education, there could be delays here. Trips may get cancelled, education may need revision, visa plans might stall, but remember, every delay that is happening on your plans is strategic. As the seventh lord, Saturn here also links your life path to your spouse or long-term partner. They might be the reason for travel or even the reason to stay and rethink your direction. So this retrograde is not no, it is more about wait, there could be a better way. That is what Saturn is trying to tell you. And Saturn retrogrades in your ninth house of dharma and belief, but casts his vakradrishti on the eighth house, the hidden vault of karma, inheritance, and psychological transformation. So Saturn here is stirring the dark waters. What have you buried? What shared burden are you avoiding? So expect delays or obligations around inheritance or spousal finances. There could be emotional heaviness involving in-laws or hidden fears. A karmic reckoning tied to power dynamics, like secrecy or even sexuality. Saturn is your eighth lord as well. So this is doubly intense. Your own hidden karma is coming to the surface. You may feel a magnetic pull to investigate, research, or confront taboo topics. It's not morbid, it's more about cleansing. Let the secrets come, let the storm rise, because clarity, when earned through discomfort, becomes power. And Saturn's third aspect falls on your 11th house of friendship, long-term dreams, and money. So you may outgrow certain social circles or even feel disillusioned by the gap between dreams and reality, because Jupiter is in your 12th house of dreams, but reality is shown by Saturn. And disillusionment can be pretty sudden because of Rahu right in the middle of that churning where Saturn is casting its eye on it through its reverse drishti, through its vakra drishti. So reconnect with spiritually aligned communities instead. And as the eighth lord, Saturn purges what does not serve. You're clearing space not to be alone, but to attract good and matured companions who reflect your evolving path. And now we come to a subtle but powerful effect. Saturn's seventh aspect is now on your third house, the house of communication, courage, short travel, and also siblings. So whenever Saturn aspects a house through the seventh drishti, he kind of slows it down. So now you might hesitate to speak up, your short trips could get delayed, sibling karma could resurface, and your confidence is also taking a toll. It's taking a hit in expressing yourself. So you could feel shaky there. But Saturn does this for a reason. He's not really trying to silence you. He's just refining your voice. So don't speak louder. You need to speak wiser, and you should not react. You should respond. This is also a great time to revisit old skills or relaunch a passion project, but with structure and clarity, not chaos. Saturn also casts his 10th drishti on your 6th house, the realm of duty, work, health, debt, and service. Here's where karmic obligation is now getting really serious. It's getting real. You may need to support a partner through health or legal challenges. You may feel the pressure to serve people even when you don't feel like it. You could be asked to fix old workplace problems, and you may also be in the position where you need to confront health habits you've ignored in the past. And sixth house is about devotion through repetition, because this is daily routine and it is also repetitive work. And Saturn here is the monk whispering. Healing is not a single meditation session, it's the boring, beautiful daily grind. You need to leave consistency in order to see the results of the house where it casts its 10th aspect. Devotion, discipline, and being responsible are key themes for Saturn's 10th aspect. Since this Jupiter is also like the sixth lord, Jupiter is also the sixth lord for Cancer ascendants. He's effectively strengthening the sixth house, expanding it even, expanding the challenges, obstacles, difficult circumstances. And you may have ignored that because it may have been overwhelming, or you simply did not feel it to be so important to be tackled right now. But Saturn retrograde means that you need to attend to that problem, whether it's at work or it's your health or debt that you've ignored in the past. Very important for you to take responsibility in these areas of life. Sixth house is also about loans and borrowings. You need to be careful and resolve any pending issues at work, and if you don't do it, it could come back to haunt you at a later date. Take this word with a pinch of salt. If things have been going well for you, then it shouldn't really matter as much, but Jupiter also gives you that sixth sense of what could actually go wrong. You might just have a glimpse of that problem. It might just come and go, and if you do not utilize that, what your intuition is telling you, you might just end up facing the music. So Uttarabhadrapada is all about churning your beliefs, holding your family karma, enduring the pull between movement and surrender. And if you can anchor yourself now, you will emerge with unshakable inner truth. This is not about chasing meaning, it's about becoming that meaning. Okay, so this is a subtle storm, not loud but deeply transformational. Saturn is here to purify your path, stabilize your beliefs, and restore dignity to your service. And if it feels like you're walking alone, look deeper. Jupiter walks with you in silence, and Saturn walks ahead, clearing debris. Your dharma is not broken, it's just being rewritten in a language your soul can finally understand. So let it slow, let it deepen, and let it come back and fall into the right place and the right time. And if this helped, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone on a similar journey. And if you would like a personal reading, email me and I would love to explore your karmic blueprint with you. Next up we have, so for Leos, Saturn retrogrades in the 8th house, and that means he's not blocking your transformation. He's just slowing it down so that you don't rush into disaster. It's the pause before the release. It's the delay in receiving what's owed, expressing what's felt, finalizing what's fated. So the 8th house is trying to erupt, and Saturn says, hold it, not yet. You're not ready for what comes after. And maybe you're not, because transformation always comes at a cost. With Saturn retrograding in your 8th house, its Vakra Drishti now falls on your 7th house, the realm of partnerships, marriage, contracts, and social alliances. But Saturn is not judging your relationship. He's asking, what unspoken contract did you enter? What karmic tie still holds power over you? This is not about marital problems. It's about what's happening behind the curtain. Secret pacts, silent obligations, ghosts of your past are coming towards you. Once you let go, excess from old relationships, karmic residue that affects current bonds. All of this is happening. You might find yourself entangled in legal or emotional agreements linked to shared resources, or feel the weight of partnership, the kind that tests your emotional stamina. If Saturn is showing delays here, it's not denial, it's a checkpoint. What you commit to now must endure the test of time, pressure, and relevance to your soul. Saturn now slows down your second house, wealth, speech, and family support. There could be a freeze in income or savings, especially if it is shared. There could be delay in money coming through your family or partner. But also because Saturn is retrograde, he means business. He means that you need to speak responsibly. He's bringing that pressure onto you now to either speak responsibly or stay silent during crises. The second house is about nourishment. It's about nourishing you both financially as well as through food. And Saturn says, let's test if you can survive without the easy flow of money or food. And the truth is, you can, but it's a test you did not expect to take. Something at work or your public life feels off track because Saturn is now retrograde and aspecting your 10th house. You may now feel pulled back into an old role or clean up someone else's mess. You could also feel like your career has paused, but you're still working harder than ever. That success is crawling, not sprinting. But Saturn here is realigning your path. He's not letting you skip steps. The fifth house, joy, creativity, children, is now under Saturn's discipline, which is Saturn's 10th aspect on the fifth house. So you may work quietly to support a child's education, growth, or health. Feel that romance comes with responsibility. You could turn your passion project into a slow burning responsibility. And if you're trying for a child, this is a preparation time. And Saturn says, this soul you're trying to bring is divine. Build the foundation first. Build it strong. Fifth house is romance and children. And seventh lord is about committing to something and looking back at the fifth house through its 10th aspect means he requires your commitment to raising a child or being responsible in your romantic life, being responsible and committed to keeping yourself happy and everyone else in the process. Uttarabhadrapada is the nakshatra of the cosmic turtle, the one who bore the weight of the churning mountain. That's your role now. Let what's unstable collapse. Let your quiet endurance shape your next chapter. This nakshatra is not going to give you immediate gifts. It gives you legacy through patience. So Saturn, in summary, is not denying you transformation. He's delaying it until you've earned it through your patience and endurance. He's testing the limitations of your tolerance. You have to tolerate through the storm. He's not blocking your relationship. He's testing which ones will stay in silence and service. He is not taking away your joy. He is asking whether your joy can survive without freedom. This is Viparit Raj Yoga, not because you're freed from difficulty, but because difficulty intensifies and you kind of outlast it. You're sitting in the deep. Saturn is stirring karmas that others buried. You're being made to face them, fix them, and finish what others abandoned. Not for glory, but for freedom. If you do this well, something beautiful happens. The transformation you were seeking shows up, but only after the pressure cooks the poison out. So walk carefully, speak slowly, and trust the slow churn. Saturn is not punishing you. He's preparing you to inherit what no one else could hold. Next up, we have Virgo ascendants or Virgo moon sign. Alright, for Virgo, Saturn goes retrograde in the 7th house. Now, 7th house is the house of other people, marriage, one-on-one bonds. And this is not just about love or marriage. The 7th is the house of agreements, mirrors, and long-term commitments, both visible and also invisible. So when Saturn retrogrades here, especially from the Uttarabhadrapada, it's like karma is saying you've made promises, now you need to fulfill them with maturity, or you need to renegotiate consciously. Saturn is your sixth lord, now sitting in the seventh house. This means conflict, service, duty, and exhaustion are now quietly soaking into your partnerships. This does not create any kind of yoga, but it does bring a lot of karmic intensity. You may feel over responsible for your partner's emotional or financial problems, or you may find yourself in legal discussions or contracts that feel more burdensome than fair. Or in some cases, a past debt comes back in the form of a person. Secretly, the relationship kind of becomes like a job for you and is no more a thing of joy. This is not always negative, but it will require effort, endurance, and some kind of a boundary that you need to set yourself into and keep working within that boundary, or you're going to get really exhausted or impatient, to say the least. So Saturn retrogrades in your seventh house of relationships, but casts Vakra Drishti also on your sixth house, the house of work routines, illness, conflict, and also service. This is not a crisis, it's Saturn whispering your duties have become unconscious. So realign before the system crashes. So expect themes like health routines breaking down, but only so you notice what's unsustainable, old work habits, legal issues, or debts reappearing for a foreclosure. You could feel overstretched, yet strangely clear about what needs to go. This is where Saturn is trying to discipline your distractions. He wants your schedule to be clean, your lifestyle intentional, and service to be of purpose. So it's time to rework the grind so you can serve from a place of strength and not from a place of strain. And that could have happened to you in the past. You must have been really stressed, really strained, and Saturn is now trying to help you come out of that situation. And as Saturn is also your fifth lord, the karmas of love, past life merit, children, and creativity are also being rooted through this seventh house retrograde. And what this often brings is partnerships is now going to carry the weight of past life connection or unfinished emotional business. If you're trying for a child, this is slow, delayed, and possibly medical or procedural, but Saturn rewards sincerity. If you already have a child, this could be a time of structuring their education, handling their health, or supporting them emotionally. Romantic relationships take on a serious tone. No games, no casual detours. And fifth and the seventh almost always gives you a love marriage. If you've been in love for a long time, then now is the time to commit and make it formal. But yeah, being together in love and marrying can have really different connotations. The dynamics can change. Especially Saturn here shows the reality of things. Things can take a different turn once married. Love is going to feel like a duty for you. Saturn kind of sucks away the fun in the relationship. But still, you get to marry the person of your desire, Virgo. And for those going through Saturn return, especially if you're single or even otherwise, if you have just got out of a tough relationship in a marriage, you will be definitely confronted with the question of the kind of spouse that you like to see yourself with in terms of emotions and not just physical appearance. And Saturn here, he's bound to ask you tough questions like, are you maintaining a relationship that looks only good on paper, it's bleeding you emotionally? And Saturn does not force a decision. Remember, force is not the way Saturn works, but it does turn off the autopilot. You now see everything, the patterns, the debt, the unspoken tension. It's asking, are you willing to be patient and endure the hardship to mold the person into the one you dreamed of, or are you willing to let go? Because the turning happens in the sign of Pisces, which happens to be the natural 12th in the zodiac. This retrograde is a call to review the foundations of your one on one relationship. With Saturn retrograding in the 7th, his third aspect is now on your ninth house, the house of faith, dharma, wisdom, and father figures. So expect a need to re examine your philosophical worldviews. There could be pressure around a father's health or a sense of duty towards his well being. A subtle crisis of faith, especially in what relationships are supposed to mean. This is not really a spiritual downfall or anything. This is Saturn saying rebuild your faith using what you've learned through other people. You know, there's a saying, wise man learns from other people's mistake. You don't have to commit that error in order to learn and implement that in your life. Your first house, your body, your self-worth, your vitality now receives Saturn's 7th aspect. And this can feel kind of heavy. You know, you may feel drained by relationships, needing to pull back to breathe. There could be guilt, confusion, or a need to prove your value. That could happen. You wouldn't have that need to prove your value in partnerships. You might question your identity outside of your duties to other people. And Saturn aspecting the first house, usually he stretches you thin. You could go on long breaks before eating, which means there could be harsh dietary routines or extended period of exercise to keep yourself in shape. And if you've not been doing that, Saturn will definitely force you to reevaluate your weight and height ratio to cut down on excessive fat or weight that's been accumulating, which is definitely having a bad impact on your health as well, especially the feet, because the Pisces represents the feet of the Kala Purusha. There's a lot of weight on it and it's affecting your health. If you don't look back to fix your feet by thinning down, things can get worse. Of course, this is a very generalized reading of problems connected to the feet, but in case it fits your story, you know what to do. Now we come to the real crucible, your fourth house. From the 7th, Saturn casts his 10th aspect onto your fourth. Home, emotional stability, mother, and inner peace. At the same time, Jupiter from your 10th house also casts his 7th aspect onto this very same house. Two planets, two forces with vastly different agendas staring at the same zone of your life is definitely means there's some activity going to happen here. And Saturn brings burden, perhaps emotional detachment, delay in property matters, responsibility towards mother or family structure. He could also bring a sense of something's missing at home, And Jupiter, however, acts like a balancing light, offering a philosophical softness, a chance to heal relationships at home, or even upgrade your home through wise choices, but only if you're willing to carry the karmic load responsibly. This is not about comfort anymore. It's about building a soul stable foundation where home does not just mean a house, but an emotional fortress made of responsibility, made of grace, made of endurance. And this nakshatra, Uttarabadrapada, is about the turtle that holds the churning mountain still. It's not about eliminating the chaos. It's about anchoring yourself while the chaos churns around you. So when Saturn retrogrades here, he does not give you peace. He gives you the weight that leads to inner strength. He does not fix the relationship. He makes you face its roots. He does not stop the obligations. He asks, how much of this did you agree to before you were even born? This is not about Saturn testing your relationship. It's about Saturn asking, have you built relationship that match your karma, or is it just your comfort zone? With Jupiter and Saturn both shaping your emotional center, you're now being sculpted for emotional maturity. You won't find lightness in love right now, but you will find a lot of depth, being Saturn being the fifth lord. You won't find ease at home, but you will find stability. You won't find identity through another person, but you will find it through your quiet, persistent acts of service. And if this stirs something in you, let me know in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more. Next up, we have Libra Ascendant or Libra Moon. So for Libra Ascendants, the daily dharma, how quiet karma is going to reshape your inner structure. That's what we're going to see when Saturn retrogrades in your 6th house. When Saturn retrogrades, it does not explode your world, it calcifies the quiet karma. It moves through your schedule, your responsibilities, your bodily rhythms, and it points out everything that is unsustainable, mechanical, or out of balance. And this year, it does so from the Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra of patience, deep endurance, and hidden emotional power. So let's begin here. Saturn owns your 4th and 5th houses. Now he retrogrades in the 6th house, the domain of service, routine, and karmic struggle. What does this mean? Your workplace may undergo changes that feel uncomfortable at first, but eventually feel emotionally healing. Some of you may travel for work or shift to a more nurturing work environment, a change that brings peace to the nervous system. The 4th house, mixing with the 6th, creates rest through motion. You heal by showing up daily. You may take on duties connected to your child, their education, or health. 5th house is romance, and 5th lord going into the 6th house. Love gets restructured through consistent service. Of course, this is not glamorous karma. It's slow burning karma. And it brings you to a place of inner emotional regulation, even if the outer world is chaotic. So some of you can expect to cook for your better half, make them happy. You know, the best way to a person's heart is through the mouth. And Saturn is trying to give you work that is also recreational and that brings peace of mind. And Saturn's retrograde does not usually bring new enemies. It brings, however, old patterns back, especially those tied to health issues you thought you had handled, job roles you'd mentally exited from, and also some unfinished contracts from co-workers, competitors, or caretaking roles. The 6th house is where we go to burn karma in motion. It does not reward you up front. It watches how long you will keep walking when there's no applause. So Saturn says routine is spiritual, grind until your soul becomes smooth. And as Saturn retrogrades in your 6th house, the arena of effort, health, and karmic struggle, he casts his Vakradrishti onto your 5th house, the seat of joy, children, romance, and creative expression. But Saturn does not dim this house. He questions its sustainability. He's asking, is your joy consistent or does it collapse under pressure? Is your love unconditional or bound by control? Are you building something that will outlast your mood swings? And many of you Librans may have felt that mood swing coming in and go. So this is a rehauling kind of thing that's happening in the 5th house, where there could be delays around children or pregnancy for those who are trying it, often because Saturn wants preparation. There could be a pause in romance to test loyalty, not to punish love. There could also be creative blocks that force you to restructure your passion. If you're working on a project, Saturn's message is clear. Make it timeless. Don't rush for applause. Build for legacy. Your fun must mature. Your love must deepen. Your creativity must gain roots. And from the 6th, Saturn casts his third drishti onto the 8th house, the house of inheritance, insurance, spouses, resources, secrecy, and also karmic debts. What does this mean? For many Libra moons, there may be sudden stress related to shared resources or legal matters involving deceased relatives or inheritance. But yeah, Saturn retrograde could actually bring some inheritance back to you. Some amount of money could come through inheritance or could be passed down by your ancestors or your parents. The feeling of unspoken responsibility may descend, a pressure to fix or fund something that's not even yours. This is not a threat or anything, this is more of a pause, an interruption, and you must prepare for it by strengthening boundaries, getting insurance matters in order, and clarifying debts or illegalities with your spouse or joint finances. But definitely, Saturn retrograde means fixing some of your debt, liquidating some of your borrowings, and that's about to happen during this retrograde. From your 6th house, Saturn's 7th aspect hits your 12th house. Dreams, sleep, spiritual retreat, and also losses. So this is a time where your sleep may suffer, dreams may feel heavy or even karmic. You may feel disconnected from your spiritual flow or your inner sanctuary. Foreign travel plans may get delayed or feel burdensome, but this is not to stop you, it is to force you into conscious alignment. Saturn in the 6th wants your spirit to serve, not escape. Your spirituality now demands consistency and not comfort. Saturn now casts his 10th aspect on your 3rd house. Speech, effort, siblings, short travels, and 3rd is also about courage. So you may notice a sudden formality or restraint in how you express yourself. There could be an increased responsibility around a sibling. There could be pressure to write, teach, or share your knowledge with somebody, but more so in a matured and structured way. You're asked to endure and you're asked to earn your audience, not charm them. But here's the grace. Jupiter transiting through Gemini in the 9th house is casting a 7th aspect onto the same 3rd house. This means Saturn gives you the burden of effort, while Jupiter gives you the vision to know why you're trying. If you're working on a course, book, podcast, or even a personal brand, this is the perfect time to refine your message and anchor it in deep wisdom. Communication could now become slow because of Saturn's aspect, but because of Jupiter, it becomes more powerful. Fewer words, deeper impact. Let Saturn shape your voice. Let Jupiter expand it. So this nakshatra where Saturn now retrogrades is the symbol of being anchored. Like the turtle beneath the ocean in the Samudra Manthan myth, Uttarabhadrapada tells you, do not run from the churning. Be the axis, be the one who endures. This is not a time for excitement. This is a time for repairing. This is the time to rebuild the broken inner rhythm, for serving your karma without resistance. And yes, the rewards will come, but only after the dross is cleared. This is a humble transit, but it's a very intense, karmically loaded transit. Saturn says, serve now. You're definitely going to find that love and affection from people. Work hard so you can reap later. Stabilize your health, your duties, your speech, and your effort. Turn your wounds into sacred work. With Jupiter guiding your higher mind and Saturn shaping your habits, this is the time to align the two, to make even your routine a very sacred thing. And if you felt this message reach something deep inside, let me know below. Subscribe for more truths. Share this with your astro-loving friends and check out the Exploring Astrology playlist for more in-depth insights on astrology. And next up we have Scorpio ascendants or Scorpio moon sign. Well, now for Scorpio, Saturn is going retrograde in the fifth house, a house of joy, intelligence, romance, children, and creative self-expression. But this is not a playful fifth house transit. This is Saturn in Pisces, now reversing through Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, churning the cosmic waters under the surface. This is where you're asked, do you really deserve the happiness you've been craving? And if so, are you willing to work for it? Saturn rules your third house and also your fourth house, now placed in the fifth house. Retrograde. Saturn is not diluting your joy, he is kind of purifying it. You may experience romantic setbacks that force emotional maturity. Children could require more effort, academic, medical, or emotional care. Creative blockages could happen. There could be a need to rebuild the confidence from within, not from praise or recognition, but through repetition and grounded practice. This is a time where play becomes prayer, where the casual becomes sacred. Retrograde means looking back. So this is not about new creations. This is about old joy that got interrupted. Saturn may trigger a reconnection with an old flame, but now you must fix what you once overlooked, a creative passion you had dropped, now begging to be finished. There could be a karmic link with your child from a past life, resurfacing now in the form of concern, sacrifice, or duty. The fifth house is the house of past life merit, and Saturn retrograde here churns that karma. It's not always sweet, but it's always sacred. For Scorpio, also Saturn retrogrades in your fifth house but turns his Vakra Drishti onto your fourth house, the house of home, emotional security, mother, and inner peace. This is Saturn revisiting what anchors you. Where is your foundation? Where is it unstable, especially? What unresolved karma lies in your emotional lineage? This may show up as a resurfacing of home related responsibilities. There could be some emotional heaviness tied to your mother's health or ancestral land, a strange discomfort with where you live, as if your soul has outgrown the walls around it. And of course, this is not about losing your home or anything, it's about earning it. The fourth house here becomes a pressure point, and not to crush you, but to remind you that peace is a discipline, not a default. Saturn retrograde is about fixing something at home and keeping it neat and clean. You're being asked to take ownership of your property, not just sit there or lean on them. Let Saturn clean the basement so your future home, literal or emotional, has got no cracks left beneath. So Saturn is actually helping you fix what is broken. Saturn also casts his third aspect onto your seventh house, the domain of marriage, contracts, agreements, public presence. And this may manifest as feeling disconnected from your partner emotionally or sexually. There could be a delay in formalizing partnerships, romantic, even professional relationships, questioning what equal partnership really means. This is not really a collapse of marriage or anything. It's Saturn asking, can this partnership support your long-term goals in life? Or are you still running on fantasy? From your fifth house, Saturn sends its seventh aspect on to your 11th house. Friendships, social networks, dreams, large organizations, and also gains. So when Saturn aspects a house through his seventh aspect, it slows the results of that house. So friendships may fade or go quiet, especially those lacking depth. Social circles may feel disappointing, maybe not offering the support you hoped for. Dreams may feel distant or impractical, but this is really Saturn's way of refining your tribe, your community, not punishing you. He says only those who align with your long-term dharma will remain. Let the rest go. Saturn now casts his 10th aspect onto your second house, the house of family, speech, values, and stored wealth. At the same time, Jupiter is now aspecting this house from the sign of Gemini. So what does this mean? You may feel tension with family responsibilities or inherited duties. Your voice and speech may become more serious, heavier, and also wiser. There may be expenses or duties related to family or family assets. You're being asked to refine your value system. What do you stand for when no one is actually watching? Jupiter is bringing perspective, whereas Saturn brings structure. So, together they say, speak only when it builds legacy, spend only when it aligns with your values, love only when it's real. So, this nakshatra is a deep ocean ruled by the cosmic serpent, Ahirbudnya, who lies coiled beneath the surface. So Saturn retrograde here does not cause storms, it causes undertows, those invisible karmic pulls that drag you inward, forcing you to confront what you buried beneath the surface of your creative, romantic, and emotional life. You may feel a pressure to slow down, a desire to retreat from loud joy, call to refine your happiness into something more sustainable. This is Saturn asking you to sustain your joy, not just taste it. And the retrograde is really a check in with your own joy. Saturn says, are you capable of nurturing happiness with the same rigor as you handle pain? Do you think love, creativity, and children are your rights, or are they your responsibilities? If you accept this challenge, you'll come out not just wiser but more whole. And this is a karmic portal to evolved love, structured expression, and emotional integration. Let me know if this resonated with you, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. Also share this with your friends and family. And moving on, we have Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon sign. For Sagittarius, this is not a light transit. It's karmically rooted because Saturn, now turning back through the Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra, is like a submarine. It dives beneath your conscious emotions and taps on the unresolved architecture of your inner life. Saturn owns your second and third house, and he's now in the fourth house going retrograde. Saturn now brings the pressure of your family karma and communication habits into your emotional love, into your emotional core. This may show up as the weight of responsibility around family. You may get the feeling that you are the one who must keep the house or family emotionally intact. There could be internal guilt as well about how you speak or how you show up for your mother. There could be a feeling like your courage is tied to approval from home, as if success is real only if it's recognized by your family. Physical discomfort in the home, not because the walls are broken, but because something inside feels unsettled. Saturn does not want you to escape. He wants you to face the emotional structure of your life and renovate it from the inside. When Saturn retrogrades in the fourth, it often triggers some kind of an awareness, a sudden awareness of emotional imbalance. Issues around property, land, vehicles, or household issues that were long ignored could now come back. There could be flashbacks of your childhood emotional patterns, which kind of still shapes your adulthood decisions. The key lesson here is this: you can't build a peaceful outer world unless your inner world is grounded and sorted out. This is not a time for escape, it's a time to plant yourself physically, emotionally, and karmically into a more stable field of self-care. Saturn retrogrades in your fourth house, the seat of inner security, but its Vakra Drishti is now falling on your third house, the house of communication, courage, willpower. This is not about speaking less, it's about speaking with purpose. Saturn is now trying to revisit old fears around expression, sibling karma that never really resolved completely. A pattern of suppressing your voice or second guessing your intuition is now happening with Saturn retrograde in the fourth house, looking back at the third house. His silent gaze says, your words are powerful, but you need to use them wisely or not at all. Your bravery must now come from the heart, not from proving yourself. You may feel disconnected from your usual confronts. Writing, speaking, networking, all of these themes feel heavy until they become intentional. This is the karma of strategic action, not impulse, the kind of courage that speaks after listening. Let your silence gather strength, because when Saturn lifts his paws, your voice will carry karmic weight. From the fourth, Saturn casts his third aspect onto your sixth house. Illness, debt, obstacles, daily service. There could be a problem with borrowing money, credit, but also it also means it's giving you breaks in your debt and borrowing. But then health routines may feel suddenly disrupted because of Saturn's gaze, like losing energy or motivation to maintain your schedule. There could be emotional fatigue manifesting as physical exhaustion. A workplace or service responsibility may now demand more energy than expected. If you're in a caretaker role, Saturn now asks, are you over-serving other people to avoid healing yourself? The body becomes a whistleblower right now. Listen to it. If you miss it, then you might miss something very crucial. The seventh aspect from your fourth house hits the 10th house, your public life, authority, ambition, karma, and Saturn's seventh aspect slows down the house it gazes. So, work may feel emotionally draining as if duty is robbing your joy. You may rethink your career choices, especially if they don't emotionally align with your current state of mind. A boss, a parent, or elder figure may become the source of emotional pressure at the moment. This is not really a failure on your career. This is Saturn asking, why do you want to succeed? Is it for approval or for your own alignment? Now things get even more interesting. From the fourth, Saturn casts his 10th aspect onto your own self, your lagna, your body, personality, vitality. At the same time, Jupiter from Gemini is casting his 7th aspect onto the first house. This double aspect says you're being pulled inward to restructure your identity. Saturn actually wants discipline, humility, and seriousness, but Jupiter wants to expand your relationships. Jupiter is all about expanding your knowledge, your charisma, your philosophical outlook. But together they're saying, or they're asking instead, are you becoming the person who can sustain both duty as well as joy? You may feel a physical slowdown because of Saturn, but there could be a mental awakening because of Jupiter's aspect on the first house. A call to take yourself more seriously, yet more kindly, And it's time to align your personal identity with your emotional legacy. So basically, Saturn in Uttarabhadrapada is about holding steady while your emotional ocean is churned. To be the axis, to be the one who endures the wave, not the one who runs from that wave. Saturn in Uttarabhadrapada wants to stabilize your subconscious roots so you don't keep building your life on shaky grounds. So basically, you need to stop searching for stability outside, anchor within. Stop chasing love through work, build peace through presence. Don't just return home. Become the peace that you want to see yourself in. This is not about achieving anything. It's about restoring your foundation so the next level of your life does not collapse. Let me know if this grounded something in you. If you're new here, then please subscribe for more astrological insights on transit and all things astrology. And also hit that like button and share this with your friends and family. They might need this message more than you think. Next up, we have Capricorn ascendants or Capricorn moon sign. For Capricorn, Saturn is your Lagna Lord, your karmic father, the architect of your soul's timeline. When your own ruler goes retrograde in the third house, it's not about external chaos, it's about internal reparation. The third house rules speech, thought, communication, writing, short travels, courage. So when Saturn rewinds in the Uttarabhadrapada, he's not about to shake your life. He's whispering, you're overthinking the wrong things and undercommitting to the right ones. Saturn owns your first house as well as your second house. And he's moving into the third house. He's retrograding in the third house. He is bringing you new opportunities. He's in fact bringing you opportunities from the past which you missed out on. There could be a reworking of mental patterns, including thought loops, fears, habitual anxieties, and you're now trying to work around that. There could be a responsibility related to communication or your sibling, a moment where your voice gets quieter but deeper and speaks wisdom to your sibling. Possibly a serious situation with a sibling or cousin that demands your emotional maturity and steadiness. And this is something that you're going to feel when that retrograde happens. The retrograde might also bring old conversations or regrets around things you said or you did not say. A sudden urge to write, document, or publish something long pending. There could be a mental fatigue or even headaches tied to communication overload, rethinking how you interact with social media, siblings, or short-term travel plans. The third house is your mental state, and Saturn is now asking, can you handle your own voice with more respect? He wants you to filter less and mean more. Saturn retrograde casts his Vakra Drishti onto your second house of speech, family bonds, your assets, and what you hold sacred. This is not about loss, although, second house is 12th from the third. It is still about alignment. Are you speaking what you truly believe in? Is your earning aligned with your ethics? Do you have inherited values that you never questioned? The reverse gaze shakes up the loose things in your second house. It shakes loose old patterns in how you handle money and food. A rekindling of family karma, especially around loyalty and silence. A test of how your words carry your lineage's weight. You may withdraw from speaking not out of fear but to observe the cost of careless speech. This is a time to cleanse the throat and the wallet. Let silence deepen your worth. Let restraint sharpen your values. From the third house, Saturn casts his third aspect on the fifth house. Love, children, joy. So what happens? Romantic connections may feel emotionally distant. Creative projects are going to get slowed down because Saturn, a third aspect, almost always means a break, but not to block them, rather to structure and refine them. So for parents, there could be concern or responsibility around children's education, health, or emotional well-being. And this is where Saturn reminds you, not all joy is instant. Some must be earned through effort. And Saturn's seventh aspect now lands on your ninth house. Travel plans are going to get interrupted or postponed. There could be a disconnection from spiritual teachers or belief systems, a need to re-examine your life philosophy. This is Saturn asking, does your belief system support your discipline, or does it enable your avoidance? Because Saturn going third house means a slowdown in your habits. So slow down in the way you think, in the way you move, in the way you act. And he's looking at the ninth house, means there's a slowdown in the way you assimilate information pertaining to philosophy. The powerful activation is now also happening in your chart because of Saturn retrograding and aspecting the 12th house through his 10th aspect of foreign lands, isolation, dreams, and at the same time Jupiter from Gemini casts his 7th aspect on the 12th house. So what happens? You may feel a divine withdrawal, a pull towards silence, retreat, meditation. There could be hidden fears surfacing, asking to be purged. You might feel ready to explore foreign travel or spiritual study with renewed seriousness. Expenses could rise, especially around spiritual matters or overseas connections, but only to purify your value system. Saturn brings structure to your escape. Jupiter brings faith to your suffering. If indeed you're actually going through some kind of suffering at the moment. Let go of what cannot be controlled, but stay responsible for what can be cleansed by Saturn. So Saturn retrograde in the Uttarabhadrapada nakshatra is telling you that only through persistent effort and realignment can you build clarity. So expect dreams to deepen, expect words to slow down, expect writing, journaling, or poetry to carry healing power. You're no longer allowed to misuse your voice. This is a mental detox, not a breakdown. Saturn says the thoughts that build your past no longer serve your future. Speak with weight, write with legacy, think with purpose. Your discipline is not punishment, it's your salvation. If this felt like a message carved out just for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also share this with your friends and family. Next up, we have Aquarius ascendants or Aquarius moon sign. For Aquarius, Saturn is your Lagna Lord and also your 12th Lord. So he's going retrograde in your second house, which rules speech, food and family, inherited wealth, values, stored karma, self-worth. And this is not just about money. This is Saturn auditing your emotional bank account. And I think audit is something that everybody needs, not just in personal finance, but it is also required in one's own life. And that is where Saturn now is going to have his reverse gaze. He is now auditing your personal life. Every aspect of your life is now going to be under scrutiny. And placed in the second retrograde, Saturn brings a karmic review of family obligations, possibly feeling burdened by ancestral duty, challenges in speaking your truth. Every word feels weighty, judged, or bound by loyalty. There is definitely going to be a chance to rebuild your values from the ground up, a desire to renegotiate your relationship with money and food, possibly leading to minimalism or fasting, and most crucially this, you are what you say repeatedly. Is your speech aligned with your worth? The second house is not just what you own, it's what you carry emotionally, financially, generationally, because it's your lineage. Saturn's retrograde here digs deep into unresolved family issues, inherited fears around security, your speech issues, and they could become extremely guarded. Or you could blurt truth in ways that disturb the peace. But this silence is not weakness. It's Saturn saying you don't have to shout to be heard. Let your presence carry your weight. Saturn retrograde in your second house also casts this aspect on the first house. Vakra Drishti, like I said, he is now casting his Vakra Drishti onto your body, onto your mind, onto every aspect of your life. There could be a deep fatigue that does not feel physical. You feel like you're being watched by a lot of people. This is like the mirror movement, Saturn wants you to step back and observe your own evolution, not rush into reinvention. Your body might even slow down right now, just enough to ask, am I carrying a voice that's truly mine, or is this inherited? This is about rebuilding your identity from truth, not from expectations of other people. Let the image break if it has to. The real you will emerge through the stillness. From the second, Saturn also aspects the fourth house through his third aspect, and this causes breaks or a disconnection from home or emotional friction with your mother. Feels like you can find peace even in familiar surroundings. There could be an emotional responsibility, like you must hold everyone together in your family or at home, or a renewed focus on rebuilding a home literally or psychologically. That could happen. His seventh aspect falls on the eighth house, inheritance, secrets, transformation, and joint finances. This is a slowing aspect, so expect delays or tension in joy in financial matters, especially with in-laws or spouse, secrets coming to light, but very slowly, almost karmically, although, and a subtle fear of emotional or financial vulnerability is also on the offing for Aquarius folks. Jupiter blesses where Saturn delays. So while Saturn makes you cautious with shared wealth or trust, Jupiter provides divine clarity because Saturn is now aspecting your 11th house through his 10th aspect, and Jupiter from Gemini is also blessing it through his aspects, through his 7th aspect. And this is definitely going to be a good transit for Aquarius as far as friendships, relationships are concerned. They're going to be becoming more mature, more structured, and definitely a lot of wealth is coming your way. If your dream requires you to fake your values because, Saturn is retrograde in the second house, it's not your dream anymore. Saturn asks for authentic community, not popularity. He does not want you to have fake people, and you will attract good people in your life if you keep observing and initiate that conversation, because Saturn second is about going slow with speech and communication, and sometimes even to the point of remaining non-communicado. But retrograde is breaking that silence, looking for honest and sincere souls to talk to. You're bound to find them because this retrograde is about course correcting to get what you truly deserve as a wonderful person that you are. Final word: cut the noise, build your worth like a sacred temple, speak like your ancestors are listening because they are. Whatever prayer you make is definitely going to be heard. Let your silence carry weight. Let your truth carry grace. This is the karma of a lot of emotional values coming into place and also a lot of emotional self-discipline. And by the end of this retrograde, you will know what's really worth holding on to. Let me know how this hits home for you. If you know somebody who's going through this similar phase, share this video with them. They might be silently waiting for a message like this. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. And next up we have Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon sign. Finally, we have come to Pisces. Saturn retrograding in your first house is no small deal. This is the house of identity, body, direction, confidence, personal dharma. It's like the karmic spotlight is now fully on you, not to expose but to refine you, not to punish but to realign with your goals. And because Saturn rules your 11th and 12th houses, this process of retrograde could ask you to revisit your past desires, let go of deep illusions and hidden attachments, and ultimately redefine who you are at your very core. Saturn's ownership of the 11th house and 12th house comes together in your physical and emotional body. You might feel tired of chasing validation as if your dreams no longer motivate you. But remember, 11th Lord means he's going to bring a lot of connections, but some of them are going to leave while you're going to seek matured connections. But also you may be caught between achieving or letting go, wanting success yet craving peace. You begin unraveling illusions about who you thought you needed to be, especially for other people. Saturn here does not let you fake confidence. He makes you earn it, embody it, and anchor it through self-discipline. This transit can, however, bring physical fatigue or burnout, a re-evaluation of your goals, priorities, and the person you're becoming. Deep identity confusion could also creep in because of Saturn, but only so you can build a more rooted selfhood. Saturn is also going to stretch you thin. Saturn retrograde. He's asking you to cut down that excessive weight or fat that you've got. 12th house Lord going into the first house. Saturn brings foreign connections. There could be earning from foreign resources because Saturn is also your 11th Lord. From your first house, Saturn now casts his third aspect on your third house: communication, courage, siblings, and thought patterns. You know what happens when Saturn looks at the third house, especially through his third aspect, there's definitely going to be a slowdown in the way you communicate. Your speech is getting refined. Your communication is going through a change. And especially if it has been under scrutiny by a lot of people thinking that you've been faking it, it is now actually trying to refine that communication. You could now speak more even, but you could be going slow with your speech because you thought that your voice does not reach people anymore, and that's why you're reshaping your communication. Remember, this is not about volume, it's about the depth of your vibration. The seventh house, marriage, business alliances, long term relationships, is now under Saturn's delaying gaze. This means there could be a delay in getting married or finding that partner. There could be a delay in work because Saturn is also having his 10th aspect on the 10th house. For singles, this can bring delays or tests around who you commit to. But remember, this is not about blocking love, it's about making space for only what's spiritually aligned. Your 10th house of karma, career, and responsibility now gets a dual energy from the sign of Gemini through Jupiter. And Saturn's 10th aspect brings pressure and heavy accountability. Jupiter from your from your 4th house sends his 7th aspect, offering wisdom and support. This combination may manifest as feeling driven to realign your career with your soul's purpose, a need to prove yourself to elders or authority figures, but also the wisdom to do it on your own terms. There's definitely going to be a lot of financial opportunities that are coming your way that feel more ethical and purposeful, which you're going to absolutely love. Together, these aspects say you must now carry both karma and dharma, the burden and the blessing. Your work is no longer just a job, it's like a karmic calling, you know. Now let's talk about the nakshatra itself, presided over by Ahirbudnya, the serpent of the deep, the subconscious abyss, mythologically tied to Kurmavatar, the turtle who stabilizes the churning mountain, and now Saturn, the planet of time, endurance, and karma, is retrograde here in your sign. You're the turtle now, you're the one holding steady while your own ocean churns. You may feel emotionally vulnerable yet internally strong, and that is what Saturn is trying to fix. You could have a psychological turbulence, but Saturn says you need to be spiritually awake in order to hold on to that ground. You could feel detached from everything, yet closer to your truth than ever before. You are now committing to work. This is like one of the perfect alchemy. You're not becoming someone else, you're becoming who you've always been beneath the noise. This is not just an ordinary transit, guys. Saturn looking back at your 12th house, or having this gaze on multiple domains of your chart. He is saying you can't be who you were anymore. That skin has cracked. Your new form must now come from the center of your being, not the opinion of other people, not the opinion of the masses. You are the stillness beneath the chaos. You are the eye of your karmic storm. You're not just healing, you're maturing into your destined self. So stay silent if you have to, or you could speak with clarity. When this retrograde happens, that's going to happen. It's going to fix a lot of your communication. And by the end of this transit, you won't just feel like a new person. You will become the one you always feared you could not become. So all the more power to you. This is going to be a greatly positive transit for you. And let this sink in. And if this resonated with you, drop a comment, and also share this video with your friends and family, and hit that like button. And I will see you guys again with another new video very soon.